Is Quite Frankly the best show on the internet?
100% right.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Monday. It's a Monday. And we're starting it all over again. It's so good to have you here tonight. My friends, wherever the hell you are, welcome back. If you please do me a favor, let everybody know where you're from. Let's do a roll call in the chat room. Please just spam where you're from. It could just be your state. It could be your city and state. It could be the country, whatever. Let's show everybody how far we're reaching for the live portion, the live recording of this episode, which will be listened to tomorrow by many, many, many more people. And in years to come by whoever the hell is digging up our civilization underneath the rubble or underneath the next mud flood. We'll get into that later on in the week. But ladies and gentlemen, it's so good to have you here with me, and we're going to be welcoming back a good friend for the first half. Haven't seen him in a while. His name is Don Jeffries. I actually have his book over here, American Memory Hole. I have quite a few of his books. He does a lot of hidden history stuff, and this is a really good one, the American Memory Hole book. And I like drawing. Good thing about Don's work. And I always tell them this, you could read from cover to cover, or you can just pick a chapter, and it's just infinitely interesting. So tonight I'll be able to do a lot of that stuff, but I also wanted to bring him on first and foremost to talk about a good friend, a mutual friend of ours. But that's that. Tonight on this Monday night, interesting week of news and events being on in the background of our everyday lives over the weekend. For sure, that's usually what it comes down to. Tonight's show should actually tie all that together, as not only do we have some strange stories from my neck of the woods, one story in particular, we'll get around to this in the second half, you can't miss it. 71 girls, teenage girls, emerged from a sewer in Rockland, New York. Yes. And we'll get around to all that tonight. It's been, I don't know how far and wide that news has been traveling, but over the weekend, like, people around here have been talking about it. Did you hear about those girls in Rockland? Like what? I thought like they went for a joyride, something bad happened. I the things that you expect to hear these days. But no. And it's actually something else you expect to hear these days. When it comes to tunnel dwellers. It's just very, very strange shit. And that's in the second half with a whole bunch of other stuff. I have some more World Cup foreigners enjoying the United States more than we do. And I also have a few other things here. We'll kick around some of the sights and sounds from the UFC to America 250 fight last night on the front lawn of the White House. Of course, it drew all the predictable controversy that you would imagine, because I don't know what it was. There was motorcycles and ramps. It was like circus-like kind of an environment there, and everybody was debating whether or not it was classless or it was just totally fine and it was perfectly awesome. And it's just like, listen, we don't have class here anymore. So stop this. If you don't like it, if you don't like Donald Trump, you don't like it. If you do like Donald Trump, you think it's a little over the top, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's number one. It's a useless conversation to have, especially when the other side thinks that it's okay to have transvestites motorboating each other on the front lawn of the White House. So it just doesn't matter. But I didn't watch the fight. Actually. I took a shower. I like showering at night because it gives me some time to not do that in the morning. You morning showers I give you credit. I just want to start the day. So that's what I did after my family left, of course. And that's that. And actually, I was watching a little bit of the Red Sox game because they had the Sunday night game, and those Europeans were there. I have some footage of that. It actually popped up over here. The Scottish. Man, the Scottish have been particularly just, I mean, what vibrant energy. I wish we can keep them. I really do. Anyway, we'll talk about that later on, and the lines will be open. I want you guys to call in with that, and hopefully a couple of other things that we can just kick the doors open. But Don Jeffries is coming on. He's returning to the show to remember a friend and to also dish on some memory hold history. And, of course, the UK's attempt to memory hole by law. And that's what we're going to be talking about in just a second, of course. That's the whole thing here. That's the whole thing. So we want to get a glimpse of the world from inside and from outside the bubble. Because, I don't know, there's quite a few people in the audience who are fan of that firmament talk. Well, it seems like there's a firmament, an even more insidious firmament that keeps people from seeing reality or seeing the forest for the trees. And being the worst thing is being caught in a little tiny fishbowl. I did go to Manhattan yesterday with my family, about 8 of us. We were rolling deep. And we went to go see The Lion King. Took Aurora to go see The Lion King. My mother wanted to treat her to that, so we went and did that. And I got to tell you, I'll have some thoughts about this in the second half as well, just about my love for theater, just the productions, going to a theater, how everything translates on stage, knowing all of the rehearsal that goes into things, having been in so many of those rehearsals, having loved that, how fun it is. How sad it is when a play wraps and that's it. The adventure's over. Dress rehearsals being the most exciting thing. Get to wear your costumes. Do it for real. But I also hate how we just really have surrendered what is just such a pivotal part of our civilization. You know, the stage acting and all that stuff. We've surrendered so much of that to the evil. I hate that. I really do. Because there's nothing like going out for a night of theater and just, you know, being in a theater district. It really is a lot of fun. I love it. Personally, I love it. You know? I really do. I really do. I saw Disclosure Day as well. The link to my full Disclosure Day review, which I did on Saturday night, is in the description of the episode. Check that out. Seriously. And I'm not one that's going to tell you how to spend a Saturday night with friends. I have seen plenty of shitty movies in the movie theater. Movies I knew were going to be shitty. Movies I thought were going to be good and ended up being shitty, like Jurassic World. And then, but it doesn't matter if you have good company with you. And I was in good company. Me, my next door neighbor, Jeff, Jay Gulinello met us out there. And we had a good time at the Alamo in Yonkers. It was good. Now, as far as the movie goes, I gave you all the reasons why, it wasn't as demonically infested as you think, at least not in the outside. Of course, we'll probably talk to people about imagery and everything else that I caught along the way, and what is otherwise a not very unique movie at all. And it kind of just meandered for 2 hours, and then you got some interesting stuff in the last 15 to 20 minutes that I was hoping would have been kind of like more of what the whole movie was about. Anyway, go check it out. It was a fun stream on Saturday night, completely impromptu and not advertised. So there is that. Let's go over to the UK for a second. Let's go over to let's go over to a little bit of breaking news this day on the Iran situation. Zero Hedge Trump details Iran deal at G7, no nukes, conditional sanctions relief. Apparently, within the next 48 hours or so, this is going to be real. Iran. Here's the summary from Zero Hedge. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon under the new deal. The agreement includes strong policing and enforcement powers. Trump said Obama's JCPOA was a horrible deal that led toward a bomb. Past U.S. payments to Iran were failed bribe attempt. Sanction relief will only happen if Iran complies with the terms. Iran gets no money or relief for just signing the deal. A deal has been electronically signed by Iran's Ghalibaf, according to U.S. officials cited by CNBC. Opening the Strait of Hormuz will take time due to mines that need to be cleared now, and to expect an increase in traffic in 1 to 2 weeks. Details to be released in 24 to 48 hours. Trump says ships will start to move through the Strait of Hormuz. Vice President J.D. Vance begins optics roadshow to boost investor confidence on the deal. I saw that silver is back over $70 an ounce, and people got a little bit of bullish on Bitcoin again, and oil started to plummet again, so who knows what happens there. Iran offers a 60-day toll-free Hormuz transit. It's like Wheel of Fortune over here, as hundreds of ships await reopening. What people were talking about earlier on in the day, like I saw some big ex-influencer types that had the scoop, and it was all about money up front. I saw a $300 billion number that was going to be paid purely for reconstruction of everything we just bombed to shit. And then $24 billion worth of sanctions relief or something like that. And everybody was like, whoa, giving all this up front, we're about to rebuild everything we just bombed, and still there's no. So I don't with these things, I don't like to speculate. Let's see how it all turns out. Seems like there was a little bit of giddy up. Wanted to get this out of the way before 4th of July. And we'll see. Maybe making a road trip in August is going to be a little bit less expensive with not having to give a pint of blood in exchange for some watered down gas, because that is what was screwing up my car. A couple of weeks ago, Aurora and I were driving around town. And all of a sudden, the car started lurching and bucking, and we're like, what the fuck is going on here? I said that in my head. I didn't curse in front of her. And so I said, I'm getting this car home. All these lights started going on, and of course, all these cars are 70% computers now. So I didn't know if it was I had AAA bring it up to the dealership and all that stuff, because there's still a warranty. And my guys at the dealership said, listen, Frank, we put this through every test that we have, and everything is fine. The only thing that could have made these cylinders misfire in the way that they did, we think, is bad gas. Like, bad gas. It was I've only ever heard that as a joke, like an energy crisis 1970s era joke that people used to still say when we were kids, and cheap gas, bad gas, something like that, whatever. I only ever heard it as a joke. It was being told to me for real. And they topped me off with premium, and I don't know, everything's fine. Everything's been fine for, since Memorial Day now. It happened right before Memorial Day. So somebody in town, I think I know who did it, may have, I don't know, peed in the tank. They watered it down. They're trying to make regular last a little longer. I'm not doing regular anymore. At least medium grade now. So I don't know if you guys have anything like that going on, but it didn't. If they did do that, it certainly did not keep the gas price down. And there you have it. One last thing. Britain unveils sweeping ban on social media for everybody under 16 years old. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, look at that fucking quisling face. That's a marsupial face right there. That, if you were to make a possum come to life and be turned into a real boy, it would be Keir Starmer. He announces new measures Monday to protect children online from the truth, essentially protect them from the truth. And And there you go. It should be known that whereas X is part of that, YouTube is part of that, they can still go on Blue Sky, where it's like the greatest concentration of perverts and open borders lovers over there. So I don't, I understand why schools are making it a point to keep phones out of the classroom to an extent, but to ban social media access for children from 16 and under across the country, I mean, that's an obvious play to keep them from understanding how their country is being cannibalized. No doubt about it. They're becoming socially conscious at that point. And again, they want them stunted. And the government doesn't want them getting too angry with the fact that the country's being handed over to third world imports and that it is possum-faced losers like Keir Starmer who are actually sponsoring them. Okay? So they're just hoping that after the age of 16, that liberal self-loathing programming will have been adequately installed. But that's crazy. Because especially when you talk about especially when you just talk about the memory hole. I mean, the internet is the reason why the memory hole is one of those things that it's been resisted in a big way, and that we have caused plenty of problems for people in big ways because of the internet. So to see things like this being done in the UK, where of course, they don't have a First Amendment like we do, well, I guess they think that's just going to make things easier for them to hold the ship together until they no longer need people to consent. They no longer need to really hide what they're doing, even though there's really no hiding it right now anyway. One guy who has been writing big time about memory holes and the American memory holes, one particular book of his that I really love. You can find all of his stuff on Amazon. I should really get him into my Amazon list that I've been building there of all the books and things that we talk about on the show. And that is Donald Jeffries, who is on his side for some reason. Where is he? Hold on. I see Donald.
I'm horizontal and you're vertical. Now I'm upside. No, yeah. Now I'm upside down.
Wait a second. You're horizontal right now?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can.
I see myself side by side. I see myself upside down too. But
hey, how about giving it one more turn and see if that does anything?
Well, all I can do is not
all
vertical.
Right. We're gonna have to deal with it. That's fine. As long as there you go.
Okay. There
you go. Hello again, my friend. It's great to have you back.
How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing all right. You were just on Union of the Unwanted with all the with the crew over there.
Yeah. They ask me once in a while. Sometimes I'm unwanted. Sometimes I'm not. You get an invite. You never know when you're getting it. So
right. Well, speaking of Union of the Unwanted, Sam Tripoli writes the forward in this book.
Yes. Very nice. Sam's a great guy.
So how's everything been in Don Jeffries' world? I feel like it's been about a year or two.
Yeah, no, it's been, I'm writing all the time, and, most of my time is writing on Substack because I actually make more money there than I do with these books, believe it or not. And so I write there, and I still write for American Free Press, still write an article for every one of their issues, and then still working on a book. I'm working on a book about sports now, and I have 10 books out there already, so I keep busy.
What's the subject matter with the sports book?
It's going to be the most controversial book ever written. I don't mean to exaggerate, but I'm not only going to take the approach that sports are fixed, which I believe they're rigged for a long time. But I'm going to talk about the racial dynamic in sports, and nobody ever has talked about that. So I'll be coming at it from a perspective that literally no one ever has. And I'll have the receipts. It'll be well documented.
I can't wait. Well, listen, everything you do is really a wonderful read. I can't wait for it. Before we get started with everything else that's been going on in the world and how you're seeing the way that current events are just kind of developing, the man who brought you and I together for the first time has died. And I wanted to give a little bit of a tip of the cap to John Barber. Real people creator and host, was 93. This is from deadline.com. And this was born 1933, 93 years old. I thought he was going to live forever. I don't know, Don, you've known him for longer than I have. So why don't you say something about John?
Well, just literally the most rewarding friendship of my life. You know, I watched Real People back in the day. Some I wasn't watching too much TV then, and my wife was a huge fan. She went to her and her sister went to the taping of one of the shows, and John was so excited when he heard that. He would get so excited that he had fans, and when the guy was making, as he told me many times, he was making $20,000 a week when he was doing Real People. It shows you how much money was in Hollywood even back then.
Mm.
uh, I never thought in the world, you know, that this would be, he would be calling me one of his best friends and he'd be calling me on the phone. And, you know, I said, this is surrealistic. You know, when we first be taking calls and my wife would hear, that's John Barber calling again. He really is your friend. You said, you know, if I've got the big Real People poster hanging up in our dining room that says that he inscribed to Donald, you know, calls me Donald, to Donald, a real person and a real friend, a real talent and a real friend, which I thought was pretty cool. But, just like I said, I would never have a friend like that again, and because this is a guy who was Frank Sinatra's personal writer for years, and he, you know, he honored me by letting me write the foreword to his memoir, "Your Mother's Not a Virgin," which unfortunately didn't sell anywhere near what it should have because John was blacklisted in Hollywood because of the JFK stuff, and I mean, this is a guy who was, you know, the first full-time film critic. There, he worked alongside. Tom Snyder and Tom Brokaw and Bryant Gumbel and people like that. He was their equal or you know their senior back then, and it was all forgotten when he tried to. I tried to help. He hired two publicists, and I helped as much as I could too. But we couldn't get L.A. Weekly, where he was a film critic for 10 years. We couldn't get them to do a story on his book. We couldn't get KABC, which KNBC, where he again worked for 5 6 years doing film. They wouldn't do a story on it. So that you know is a lesson about you know you can be as talented as you want, you can make it in show business, but if you go down one of these roads, and he did, he was the first person to interview Jim Garrison after the Clay Shaw trial, and when he started doing that and taking you know talking about it publicly and making documentaries about it, that ended his Hollywood career. He wasn't going to get any more talk shows or game shows or all the stuff he did before. So very courageous, but he never backed down. Like I said, I was uh, honored to meet him a couple times. He came to DC the last time a couple years ago, and it was just great. You know, whenever you met him, you knew you were gonna, however long he was gonna be there, he's gonna treat you for every meal because he was a notorious check grabber. Loved treating people. So it was, you know, the only time I got to go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse, I never would have gone on my own. I couldn't pay those prices, but John insisted we go, so I got to eat there thanks to him. So. I already miss him, like I said, and I really regret the fact that I didn't talk to him as much the last year for whatever reason. I tried calling him on his birthday like I did all the time, and he never answered. I left messages and he didn't get back. So I guess he was already because it was probably maybe 3 weeks or so after that
Mm.
that he died. But yeah, it's there's a void there, but you know, a life well lived, 93 years old, and certainly he left a resume all of us can envy.
Yeah, like I said, if we get to live half the life he did. I mean, especially in the length of time, but he worked until the end, and he loved what he did. Always active on his YouTube, and yeah, you're right, really wonderful. And you know, let me ask you about that, especially the your familiarity with his work, but his familiarity with yours. You write a lot about the Kennedys. And I just wonder, where do you guys overlap, and where did you guys have disagreements about the official story? There's no way that you agreed on everything. Is there any sticking point that you guys had where it's just like, no, John, I really don't think that panned out that way, but
Well, we never had an argument. We never had a crossword. You know, he was, you know, although he was notoriously grumpy with people, he never was grumpy with me. He said so many wonderful things about me, you know, to inflate my ego, and you know, he'd brag about me to people, and so I can't. I don't. I think we saw the JFK assassination pretty much the same. He tended to be, I think, stressed Garrison's significance a little too much. I think Garrison solved the mystery of what I call the ground level conspiracy, which was very real in New Orleans with Jack Ruby and David Ferrie and all those people. And that's where Oswald was. And I think he was entrapped there and ensnared there and manipulated. And I think we all were manipulated against each other. But they weren't the real conspirators. I don't know that John thought they were, but he thought Jim Garrison solved the case. I don't think he did. I think he solved that part of it. But I never argued with him about it because I respected him too much. I wasn't going to argue with him, and I know the last couple years because he got Trump derangement syndrome pretty early on.
Mhm.
And after he was the one who invented the great term Trump agnostic, because he said, Donald, you and I are the only two Trump agnostics out there. And I said, yeah, I guess we are. And then there was one, because he wasn't one anymore. But I started, saying it myself. And so we didn't talk too much about it. And I would, he would say, and again, now I'm probably not a Trump agnostic anymore, but I was for a long time. But I wouldn't argue with him about it because again, I respected him too much, and I thought I didn't argue with him about I didn't. I hate to see an old person, especially, cling to their atheism, and he did. And unfortunately, he didn't come around or anything. But I'm no missionary. I was not going to try to persuade him, and he would not have liked that if you did. So I thought that was a little sad, but we didn't really. I respected him too much, and he was like a kind of like a father figure to me, and I used to claim I was his number two son, and I said, really number two, and but he, it's we had some great conversations and we did lots of interviews together, including I'm pretty sure we were interviewed together on your show because for a while there he wanted to be interviewed. He wanted me to go on every interview with him, which was ridiculous because if John, basically I would get to introduce myself and then I'd sit back and listen to John for an hour because he never came up for air.
Yeah.
He was like the Energizer Bunny. So, but he loved having me there, and I didn't care. I respected him too much. I would just get a kick out of it. But we did tons of those, and John was in like he back when he was on SGT Report and play things like that, which were back then was like a QAnon show. A lot of those ones were. And I don't think John understood even what because he would say the same stuff wherever he went. He would tell the showbiz stories. He would talk about JFK. He wasn't going to talk about any of that stuff. But those are the people that liked him, like you. You liked him too. And even though he might not have had that much in common with you politically, but so yeah, again, it's a big void. But he combined the two great things that I am very interested in. Obviously, JFK assassination and show business. And so, it was, and that's how I think when I met him on Facebook, I commented on one of his things and then he commented right back. And I started realizing this guy really interacts with everybody because he had been a big shot at one time. And I didn't realize that anybody did that. And then he started messaging me. And then he made this great comment one time about Trump. He said, the only Donalds I like are Donald Duck and Donald Jeffries. So I said, wow, that's really cool. So then we just started talking and he had me on his show a few times and I've had 3 different podcasts and he was always the first guest. Traditionally, he was my first guest each time. So definitely going to miss him.
Unfortunately, I did not have you both on at the same time.
Okay.
But but like I said, because it was actually after the first time I spoke to him that he said, you need to meet my friend Donald.
Yes, he would always do that.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's how we all got linked up. But, the second time I brought him on, first time I just wanted to talk about Jim Garrison and all the work that he did back then. But the second time I brought him on was to talk about, and everybody at home, all of John's documentary work is still on Amazon. You should definitely go watch The American Media and the Second Assassination of John F. Kennedy. It is awesome. Speaking of memory holes, because this is where we start seeing the management of the narrative here, which is obviously first and foremost a tool of psychological, subversion, and that's that you're trying to essentially massage the psyche of the American people to make sure that a very porous national official story is embraced for all time. So there's that. Now, let me ask you this. Last year, we got another couple of troves of JFK files, and people were looking through them and looking for bits and pieces that give a little bit more toward motive or a little bit more smoking guns. What was your big takeaway from all that?
Well, that was, and again, it's I probably write too much about Zionism and Israel now. It's kind of taken over, and I find on Substack that gets the most readers. I mean, it's the most popular subject by far. If I write about something else, I get half the readership. So I don't want to stress it all the time. But when I was amazed because I don't usually all the JFK file releases they've had over the years. I don't usually pay much attention to them. But in this case, what stood out was the fact that all the redactions that had been removed by Tulsi Gabbard, and it was one of the good things she did while she was in there, all of them had to do with Israel, and more specifically with James Angleton, who was one of the creepiest CIA guys. He was the head of counterterrorism or something. I mean, he had a big title and worked at the CIA for years, but he was basically, most people think he was connected to the Mossad too, because he has a monument to himself in Israel. And that's how important he was. But all of these, I just thought, why would all the redactions have to do with Israel? Why would they? And that's kind of the bit, what I think is the interesting thing is that it's almost like they want this stuff to come out because they didn't have to do that, and they made it really obvious that all the redactions, and of course people started jumping on that, and I think they wanted that. I don't know why, but they did. So that was and so since then I've learned, I already knew, for instance, that at the time of the assassination, JFK was engaged and it's very relevant now with nuclear weapons in a very heated exchange with David Ben-Gurion, who's the president of Israel, because Israel was starting to develop nuclear weapons, and JFK threatened to cut off aid. No president's ever done that before. At the same time, RFK, his attorney general, tried 7 times to get APAC. Well, it wasn't APAC, it was another name, but it was the parent company of APAC, which then APAC just took it over. But they tried to get them to register as a foreign lobby 7 different times. Now, Thomas Massey just tried to do that recently before he was defeated for re-election. Nobody tried to do it since then. And then more recently, and I haven't been able to verify it, but a couple researchers claim that the IDF was in Dallas, Texas until 6 hours before the assassination. I don't know if that's true, but we already know Yitzhak Rabin was there. So I don't think Israel assassinated him, but I do think there's obviously a connection there, and there was some kind of event which I overlooked for a long time. And so I think it's interesting, but those files are what got my attention because there's just so many of them. I thought, why do they all have to do with Israel? Why were only those redacted? Was that done on purpose?
I have a couple of theories about that. I was talking about it, and it's because it's not like it's not real. There's that, but the real question is why is it? It's almost feel like it's being astroturfed right now. And again, just like with the migrant crisis in Europe, where the people who really stand, I mean, everybody is going to get screwed by the cultural clash that is really reaching new levels out there. But first and foremost is if you really do represent the best interest of Jewish people around the world, then you would never also represent the interests of being able to inject Islam into their living spaces. And so I feel like people who control the information that has been locked up for a long time, and also represent themselves as representatives of special interests like Jewish people, have really been working overtime to astroturf anti-Semitic thought through legitimate releases. Because I think they want to get people into real significant trouble, and I think they want to cause a calamity of some kind that has been building toward for a while. It just seems like that. There's no other reason why you would do this.
Well, I've never, again, I've I came from the left. I was a far lefty. I was a member as a teenager. I was a card carrying member of the ACLU. I mean, you couldn't get any farther left than I was. And but then at some point, I discovered the far right. And I started reading a lot of that stuff. And so there's kind of if you go far enough right, you hit the far left. There's a big overlap there, So that's where I was in that world, extremist. But and of course, I a lot of the stuff, back then, a lot of books about Jews, and so I read some of them, and so I was familiar with some of the terms. And one of the terms was Zog, that they used all the time, Zionist occupied government. But that was a you could only get these from books through the mail. This was before the internet. And I was ordering stuff from, left-wing and right-wing sources that, I'm sure it got me on early thought crime lists everywhere. So I'm probably on every list there is. But that was a term that I had never heard used anywhere in public. Candace Owens talks about it all the time now. She says Zog. So what? Really? And so these are things that were never talked about before. And the problem is that the Zionists are not exactly handling it well because they're getting hysterical. And now, unfortunately, the right is doing the exact same thing the left did. The left wanted the cancel culture and wanted to get people fired. And get them thrown out of college and everything for saying something homophobic or racist or whatever. Now they want to do the same thing if you say something anti-Semitic. I read again on there today, and so it's the exact same thought process, and it's there. And it does worry me that they're creating this climate out there because I've never seen, especially black people. There's so many blacks online now that talk about the Jews that nothing like that before, and it worries me. Are they trying to like bring people out in the open and then crack down with some kind of law where they throw us all in FEMA camps? So I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing, but there's got to be a reason for it because it's being allowed to happen. It's being pushed.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think all theories are valid. And speaking of those theories, when it comes to JFK, and I know there are certain things that John never touched, but I wanted to ask you because you go everywhere. You are not afraid to go anywhere with this, with your research and all that, and you document it. And if you don't have a stance on something, you'll just offer it up for speculation with the public. But everybody has a favorite JFK motivation theory, and I just want to know what you believe, how much overlap there is between all these competing theories, or if there are any that you just dismiss out of hand. First of all, you're just talking about the Israeli influence thing, whether it be foreign agents, whether it be the nuclear special interest there. But then, of course, there's the classic reasons. JFK was Vietnam resistant. Yes. Cuba, mafia debts that that his father accrued to be able to make him president, and then suddenly he and Bobby are not very friendly toward the mafia anymore. And then, of course, there is something that we are boiling in right now, and that is UFO talk. And that he was, he also was a disclosure guy, and that may have been something that sucked Marilyn Monroe into an early grave as well. How much overlap do you think, if any, from these things? Am I missing anything?
Well, JFK tracks everything. Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I had Laura Eisenhower on my podcast a few years ago. She was very interesting. But she's really out there. But and she was one of the ones that claimed that Eisenhower knew about, had seen alien bodies or something. I think she claimed they showed it JFK too. There's that theory's there. I don't, it's hard when people say who killed. I just know they're lying to us about it. And I know that, and of course you have more and more people that, the everything is fake thing. And I get lectured, too often now on that. I can't believe you're still buying that the assassination was real. It was obviously fake. So they think that JFK wasn't assassinated. There are people that think that, and then you have people, there are people that not only believe the driver shot JFK, Bill Greer, which is ridiculous enough. There are people that believe Jackie shot him. There are actually people that believe that, and there's a big group now that is pushing very strongly that it wasn't Jack Ruby that shot Oswald. It was someone else, and it's very confusing. But that's why I avoid going down those things. I mean, I laugh at them, but I prefer to concentrate on the fact that we know that what they say happened didn't happen. Now, I think reasonable speculation has always been, for me, I thought Vietnam was the main motive. Also, that the CIA, because he was threatening to abolish the CIA. I think there was a Federal Reserve component. I've done a lot of research on old Joe Kennedy, who I like a lot. I think Joe Kennedy's been treated very unfairly, and I've written a lot about it. But he was one of the first critics of the Federal Reserve, and I think he informed his sons all about that. Their talks around the dinner table. I think they knew all about the phony nature of the Federal Reserve. So I think all these things are important, but in the Israel thing, I think you have to add to the equation, because with how powerful things have become since 1963 in terms of Zionism in this country, I think you have to add. So I think it was a consortium of interests that got together, or there's this Illuminati that everybody thinks that is above it all, and they're the ones that just decided, hey, this is going to happen for all these reasons. But who knows for sure? I just know that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't think it was the mafia. I don't think Cuba. I think Cuba was irrelevant. As soon as Kennedy was killed, nobody talked about Cuba again until now, recently, when Trump is talking about invading them again or something. But nothing happened after that. So I think that was a smokescreen. And in my book, Pipe the Bimbo and Red, that I wrote with William Law, published a few years ago, that we talk about the New Orleans element. You can see the fake smokescreen with the Cuban element, because all those people in New Orleans. That's where all the anti-Castro Cubans were, and they were all being manipulated, and they put a lot of those Cuban names in there to mislead people. And they were just all manipulating Oswald and getting him set up as the patsy. But nothing changed after JFK was killed. There was no second invasion of Cuba. Cuba died as a campaign issue. LBJ didn't say, let's do another day pay picks. Nixon never raised the issue. And so, I think that's a smokescreen.
Well, you've obviously in your published works, you've covered everything from 1776 onwards. In particular, which era in particular, or maybe an event in American history, do you think the cover-up or the rewriting of that history has been most successful? What era do you think is the most psychologically damaging?
Well, I think, Honest Abe Lincoln. I think, there's more and more people now that are, awake. They're Lincoln truthers now. They understand that he wasn't, he was the exact opposite of what he's been painted to be. But when you have a man like that, when you have an absolute tyrant who really didn't have a single redeeming quality that I've been able to find as the secular saint of your civilization. But most people don't realize that, up until 1860, the United States was now you had the U.S.-Mexican War, which and American Memory Hole has a section on that about James K. Polk. That was our first foray really into doing something we shouldn't have done. But Lincoln took it to the next step, and he trampled all over the Constitution. He was the first imperial president, suspended the writ of habeas corpus, locked up thousands and thousands of Northerners for no reason at all, and threw them in makeshift prisons. And that's why I said about the January 6 prisoners, if they had ever decided if the ACLU still existed and they protested denying them due process for 4 years, they would have cited Lincoln's precedent. They would have said that was another insurrection. This was an insurrection. And they would have cited that as precedent. They didn't even have to do it because there is no ACLU and no one protests except podcasters like us. But I think that Lincoln's record is so far removed. This reality, and people don't realize just little things like the United States. The United States of America was a plural before the war between the states. So people would say the United States are. After the war, it became the United States is, and it's been that states' rights were killed forever. I mean, the problem began is, and most of I'm a constitutional guy because I love the First Amendment, but really the Articles of Confederation were better. And most people think it was, a mistake. Most of the people I love, Patrick Henry, George Mason, even Thomas Jefferson, until they included the Bill of Rights, that transformed things, gave the central government too much power. But nothing like what happened under Lincoln. Lincoln trampled that. The idea that even the historians that love him say there's no evidence that Lincoln thought there was any end to his powers. And almost 1 million people, Americans, were killed. I mean, a bloodbath for no reason. It wasn't over slavery, and they know that. And Lincoln almost certainly didn't believe in God. Now, that may be here or there, but the fact he invoked God over and over again, that this is the Almighty's will and everything, he just used it as a crutch. Much as, people don't realize his first inaugural address, the word slavery, I think, appears 2 or 3 times in it. And one of the times is to say, if I could save the Union without freeing a slave, I'd do it. And so he was no abolitionist. And then a couple years in, he transformed it. And then he decided to make it a crusade, a public relations crusade about slavery. So so many awful things happened. Then they had Reconstruction, and then you had, after that, the birth of the Ku Klux Klan, and 100 years of Jim Crow and all that stuff, real race problems, and all came from that. And we've never looked back, and all those precedents are set that we can never go back to what the founders intended. And the fact that we continue to worship Lincoln, and the Republicans, he's their poster child. And you even had the log cabin Republicans, that love Lincoln because he may have been gay. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I said American Memory Hole, or maybe it was Crimes and Cover-Ups. I published the article in there. I mean, I published excerpts from the article where the descendants of William Herndon, who was Lincoln's law partner, they brag openly about how, our great-great-granddad was Lincoln's lover. They were lovers. That's what they think. So I don't know, but he's not what he seems to be, and I think that's the starting point. You know, people say it's the Kennedy assassination. For our generation, for my generation, it's the Kennedy assassination where you start. But you really want to go back to history. I think that's where we really went wrong. That was the Second American Revolution. And all people have to know about Lincoln is, and I have, you know, the sources in there that Lincoln hated the founding fathers. He especially hated Jefferson. So, you know, they would have hated him. You know, said so but most people, most Americans think they equate Lincoln with the founding fathers. And they'll say, yeah, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln. No, there's what doesn't belong, and the one thing doesn't belong there. He contradicts the other. So that's, you know, but there are more and more people that are awake on Lincoln. Ron Paul wrote the Florida Crimes and Cover-Up, so he certainly is. And there's more and more people out there that, but I think once you understand that, it really opens up a whole new thing, because then you realize, you know, all those people died for nothing, you know, and you know, brother against brother and all that stuff. And 1/4 of the South, 1/4 of the Southern boys were killed. Talk about a generation, a lost generation. So just tragic. And for what? You know, so that we could become the United States is the singular.
You know, when I read your writings on that, I was already there. So I loved it. I loved reading your work on Lincoln in particular was refreshing. It was good to know that we were on the same page, because I had already consumed all of Thomas DiLorenzo's work on the subject time and time again. So it's just one of those, and of course we have Juneteenth coming up at the end. So it's like, it's, you know, and this is both parties like revere and like fight over who's really living in his spirit. When it's a, you know, like you said before, it was not an emancipation guy, cared not, or didn't give a rip about the well-being of black slaves and whether or not they were going to be in better condition. He was actually, up until the war, was a big proponent of recolonization. Want to send them back to Africa or manumission. It was that is a major mind war piece that everybody takes advantage of, because, as you said, it left us barreling into the 20th century with a collectivist mindset, a mindset of a national government and not a union. And you know, that's the crazy thing here, because now here we are so far down the line, Don, and you think about 1955, to think that you're less than a century removed from the Civil War. Like that's very recent in the early 20th century. It's still a very recent war. And like you think about our relationship to World War II, it's the same exact thing. It's so, you know, this all happened in very short order, and it's hard to have that conversation with people, because the Union was preserved, but no, the Union was transformed. It's not a union anymore. So
no, and that's people don't recognize the changes that took place, and you know, this Lincoln was cited as and he set so many dangerous precedents that he's been cited for. And World War I came along. Woodrow Wilson, another awful president. You know, when he wanted to get us into World War I, you had lots of World War I protesters, including old Joe Kennedy Sr., who was JFK got his peace chops from his dad, you know, very naturally, because old Joe was against World War I and World War II, and you know, Eugene Debs, the socialist, and they threw some of them in prison, not JFK's dad, but Eugene Debs and others, and so they appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of them being able to do it. And in fact, that's where that ridiculous thing about you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, that comes from that ruling, where Oliver Wendell Holmes, a great liberal Supreme Court justice, cited that as an example as why Wilson should be allowed to throw anti-war protesters in prison. As I pointed out, no matter what you think of, they weren't yelling fire in a crowded theater. And yet that's what, and most people, there's not one in a 200 million Americans that know the story. I didn't know it until I was doing that, but they cited Lincoln as a precedent for that. World War II, FDR cited Lincoln as precedent for the concentration camps, which not only in American Memory Hall we go over in detail there, not only, and I got to thank Chris Graves and Peter Seacosh, great researchers that did a lot of work on that, but we found out that not only did they throw Japanese in, who were later at least got some reparations, they threw Italian Americans and German Americans who never got reparations. They're never mentioned. And they stole all their property. They stole over $1 billion of businesses just alone from Germans, I think. Just think of that. And they never got it back. So, but all these precedents were set when Lincoln threw all those northern people in prison, and you go all the way to the treatment of prisoners at Guantanamo Bay. George W. Bush's lawyer cited Lincoln as precedent for that, with the way he handled dissent in the North. He shut down over 250 newspapers. So all this it's all connected. And in American Memory Hall, I talk about how these, FDR, for instance, invented cancel culture in the 1930s. And we have example after example there. He was getting people fired from radio and Hollywood and newspapers and magazines of the day, because almost all the America First movement, which that's why I loved it when Trump used that expression, at least for a while, because those were classical liberals, including JFK's dad. Again, he was part of America First. Charles Lindbergh was. That they thought they knew how stupid World War I was, and all the millions of people that died for absolutely no reason. They didn't want us to get embroiled in something like that again. But instead, it was smeared, and it was a great name. America First is exactly what it was. But FDR was working overtime to get all the people in America, and we weren't at war yet. And yet he was going behind the scenes and getting these people fired. Exactly what you would see, almost a century later, the left do, and now unfortunately the right is doing the same thing on the Israel issue.
Yeah, I remember being outside of the Anaheim Convention Center in 2016 or 17 or something like that. We were out there to play a gig at VidCon, and as I was standing outside with my guitarist, he's on the same page as me, so we're just sitting around. The day was done, and we're listening to these guys talking, and I don't know, they were TDS. It was 2016, 17, so it was like early TDS. And we're listening to them talking about how they would love to see certain news guys get thrown in jail or somebody get squashed in some way. They think that they're a danger to democracy. And I just, I didn't say anything, but he thought he saw me, the guy talking thought he saw me like agreeing with him. So he turned around and said to me, right? Don't you think that would be a good idea? I said no. He actually said Lincoln used to do it, and I said, yeah, Lincoln. I said Lincoln is an awful example of how you rule if you're in that power. He shuttered over 300 newspapers. Over 300 newspapers were shut down during that war by Lincoln, and a lot of northern newspapers as well, who just did not like what he was. Not that they were, enamored with the Southern cause. It's just that that's why his first choice in general, Robert E. Lee, did not serve him, and he was a Union guy, but he was not going to invade the South unconstitutionally. And man, we're living in it. We're living in it right now. It's crazy how all that is still very alive in our discourse today.
No, we're not, and I think the last, I want to say the last Confederate widow died in the 1980s or something ridiculous like that, because those guys would marry a really young girl, and so that's how that happened. But the timeline of history is fascinating. John Tyler, who I think is one of the few really good presidents. In retrospect, he looks better and better. I have a section on him in American Memory Hall where he stood up to the bank, the national bank that they were constantly trying to get reestablished. But he got remarried to a younger woman, and his last grandson just died a couple years ago. I was trying to, I mean, that's amazing. If you think Tyler was born in, I think, 1820 or something. It's ridiculous. And that was his grandfather. But so the timeline of history is strange. We're connected to these events, and the past is prologue, and these things happen and they affect future events. That's why I hate it when people capitulate and they just accept things. That's what worries me about, a COVID, another pandemic, or plandemic. If that happens, if the precedent has been set, we've established that they can do these things, that they can just make up these mandates that are not laws, and they can shut everybody down. And we've already shown that we'll go along with it. And they'll cite COVID as precedent. So that's what I hate, when these horrible things happen and then they get cited as precedent, even though they were wrong in the first place. But that's the way our legal system works. I mean, every defense lawyer cites precedent, and prosecutors cite precedent, and it doesn't matter if the precedents are good, and they're usually not.
Correct. And I have two footnotes for you. You just mentioned John Tyler. Yes, his two remaining grandsons, his last two grandsons, Lyon Gardner Tyler Jr. died September 26th of 2020, and then Harrison Ruffin Tyler, born 1928, just died May 25th of 2025.
Yeah.
And as far as as far as the last Civil War veteran's son, like direct child, he just died this month. I remember I saw this. Let me see here. William Poole, last known son. Father was Charles Parker Poole, Union soldier, I think from Kentucky, I forget. Born 1925, his father was 80. His mother was 17 or something when they got hitched. And Bill Poole went on to serve in the European theater of World War II. He lived in Missouri, passed away in June of 2026. That just happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. 80 and 17. That's quite a couple there, boy.
Yeah, there he is right there. That's it.
Wow.
I know. It was a Union soldier, Charles Poole, Union soldier with West Virginia. Sorry, not Kentucky. And that's it. Yeah, it's just it's a wonderful history. It's a wonderful tapestry, Don. And whenever we get together, we can always just jump all over the place. It's that's why I love all this stuff.
Yeah, no, I've those are of my books. Those are the ones that I've written 3 of them basically about history and hidden history, and those are what sell. The other ones don't sell nearly as well. So I mean, I'll be I'm working on Hidden History 4 basically. They don't want me to call it that, but again, it's going to encompass Trump, and I still don't know where the Trump story is going. I had probably about close to 200 pages up through his first administration, and then I didn't know he was going to come back to office. So now I've got a whole new set. So that's probably going to be a book unto itself. I don't know, because there's so much there, and we still don't know where it's going. There's still more than half his administration left. So it's so that and of course the whole Biden thing. I mean, all that too. I mean, it's because Hidden History was only up through the Obama years. So ever since then, hasn't been chronicled, and we have a lot of these mass casualty events. I want to write about Sandy Hook and the Boston bombing and all this stuff. I want to write at Pizzagate. Peter Seacock's doing lots of research on that for me, and in fact, he sent me like 150 pages on Pizzagate that I got to go through. So I'm definitely going to incorporate that into a book as well. There's just so much stuff there, and it's just amazing. And people tell me they told me about Hidden History, like how quickly they forgot things, because these things come rat-a-tat-tat-tat. Like if you look at my Substack, if you just go back, and I'll forget sometimes, oh yeah, whatever happened with that? And the most amazing thing is like trying to find out updates on things. And so like for instance, we just had a very weird story about, I think they claimed 51 young Jewish girls were lost in the sewer or something.
Right by me in Rockland. I'm going to do that as soon as we get off the air together. It's crazy.
It's like, what? I mean, how do you get lost in the sewers? And that, what does that bring up? That brings up the story a couple of years ago about the tunnels under the synagogue. And whatever happened to that? I mean, it's a story for a couple days, and then it's gone, and you can't find any updates. And that it's amazing. You find these. I was thinking just when you were talking to her, I was thinking like, didn't they? Wasn't Don Lemon indicted on something about breaking into that church? I thought for sure they ended up indicting. I've never heard any updates on it.
Yeah.
But was he really? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like these things are never resolved. Like a few years ago, I wrote a big story, and I think the most dangerous piece of legislation ever, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act that was passed by both houses of Congress overwhelmingly. And Trump was going to sign it, and you can't find any updates on it. I don't know what happened to it. Was it a fake story? Was there not really even ever that piece just to get everybody upset? There are no updates on it. And I'm the only one questioning it. It's just because I wrote that story and saying, what happened to that? I mean, I never heard anything else about it. So that's what you find with most stories. The things will come, and then, we'll have, remember, was it a couple of years ago, was it in New Jersey where all the drones were? Remember they kept seeing all the drones in the sky? And I think it was New Jersey.
It's around New Year's. It's around late December, early January of, I think, 2025.
Yeah. So
I think so.
What happened to that story? It was briefly in the news. Everybody was saying, well, that's weird. What are all the drones there for? I don't know. Are they still there? Who knows?
And the best thing about that was that we were getting mixed messages from local authorities and from regional state government authorities. They were being cited over restricted airspaces as well, which that in itself is a national security, or at least an infrastructure security situation. And whereas I love when we get these messages done. You get a report that everything is fine, there is no threat, but we don't know what it is. It's like, how you can't say that.
I think that's what they said at the time. We don't know what it is, but don't worry, we don't know. Yeah, it's I don't know, the Chinese spy balloon and all they're just, these things come and then they're briefly in the news, and people can just go and read my Substack. Because I mean, until recently, when Israel took over everything in my thing, it was just like whatever event had happened, I would write about it and make fun of it, and kind of talk about it. But if you look back and say, whatever happened to that? It was briefly in the news, and then that's why I got to give the tip of the hat maybe to some of these people that think everything is fake, because I don't know, maybe all this is fake, because why isn't there any update? It's not a natural progression. If it's a story, like if Don Lemon really was arrested in the church, and that should make the news. I mean, the MAGA people should be all excited. I mean, not as good as Hillary in an orange jumpsuit, but I mean, Don Lemon being prosecuted for something, that's pretty exciting. I've never heard anything more about it. I don't know.
I didn't think anything was going to come of that, even when they announced it. It just doesn't. Even when Tulsi Gabbard the other day said, "Hey, we have now definitive evidence that the Obama administration was spying and committed treason," and I said, "Okay, well, I'll noted." That's all. I told my audience that my inclination is say noted. When I see somebody get clapped in irons, then that's just where I can't do the speculation and the hoping anymore. I'm just going to move on to things that we can take care of. And that's just okay. So then let me ask you this, as we're going out the door here, are you on a time constraint? Do you have a couple more minutes?
Oh, no, that's fine.
So obviously, so much of this, we are held in orbit by cults of personality and celebrity, but I'm starting to see a lot of that die away. Obviously, we live in a little bit more of a decentralized media space, to the degree where anybody can make a difference. Anybody can become a big dog in a space pretty quickly. So the whole idea of who is being charged with carrying water has changed. Nobody gives a shit about Bobby De Niro anymore. When he says something, Bruce Springsteen is just, he's playing shows at hospices right now. Yeah. This stuff doesn't matter. So because you also write so much on this topic in particular with a borrowed fame, how do you see the relationship between celebrity, culture, and power at this point? Is it still very strong, or how has it changed if not?
Well, I think, again, like with so many things, I think Hollywood committed suicide after COVID. They allowed themselves to be shut down, and they've really, I mean, they were kind of trending in that direction anyhow, with the DEI stuff and just nothing but nonstop woke nonsense, all these crazy remakes. But it's become a joke now. And you mentioned Springsteen. I mean, I'm a big rock and roller. I love Springsteen. I love his music, and I can't listen to him anymore. I mean, it's cringe. I mean, he's he's touring with Barack Obama. You can't take him seriously. That's not rock and roll. And that doesn't mean he should tour with Donald Trump or RFK Jr., somebody I'd like, or anything like that. You just shouldn't be doing that. And so I think they've lost it. Most celebrities, when they make it doesn't matter even if it's somebody like James Woods on the right or whatever. It's just they commit themselves to being pigeonholed. And the nice thing about movies, like you go back and watch classic movies, you're not really thinking of what Clark Gable's political beliefs were, or Joan Crawford's. So you're not. But now you watch something with De Niro or whatever, you know where he's coming from, you know what he believes, and you would know conversely maybe what James Woods believes. But most of these Hollywood people are lefties and conventional lefties, and they're woke, and they're pushing an agenda. And that's gotten in the way of everything. So what is it? Didn't they make the Odyssey or something from Homer recently, where they have a character that's black? I mean, it's just it's insane.
Yeah, Helen of Troy is
Helen of Troy. Yes, yeah.
And they all and Achilles is Ellen Page, who gave us.
Yes, that's right, Elliot Page. Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's and so again, it's like they'd rather thumb their nose at us than make money or have something successful. So I really when's the last time Hollywood put anything? I don't know, but I mean, they were. I still watch stuff because we have the streaming networks and everything, and we just watched that movie as I get closer and closer to going to a rest home, the bungalows or something about it's by the same people that did Stranger Things, but it's like Stranger Things for old people, and it's
The
like
Burrows.
the Burrows, yeah, and it was interesting, but I mean they still threw some woke stuff in there. Gina Davis is 70-some years old, and she's having an affair with like a 20-some-year-old Hispanic guy. I mean, it's just dumb stuff like that. It's just really. I mean, that's just really, but it was okay. I mean, I could watch it at least, but it had a good enough premise. But they can't keep that stuff out of anything, and they did it in Stranger Things, which I like Stranger Things, but they always throw that stuff in there, and it's too noticeable, and it gets in the way of stuff, and especially when you remake things and you reframe the characters or however they characterize, which just means you make them not white or not heterosexual or something, and it's stupid. And I've always said, I don't care if you want to have these characters the way you want. You want to have a transsexual black person or whatever, that's fine. But write it that way. But don't take a character that people, understood to be white or understood to be one way and then, culturally appropriate it. I believe that's what they call it on the other side. And so they've made it to where it's, I still watch old movies, old TV shows. If I watch it, I watch mostly podcasts, now when I do it, but I watch very little TV. But when I watch Turner Classic Movies, and I heard somebody, I think they sold Turner Classic Movies or something. So I don't know how much longer we'll have that, because I'm sure they can't wait to get commercials in there, because it's a one good thing Ted Turner did. I mean, Ted Turner was a one worlder communist, but he created Turner Classic Movies, and he said you'll always be remembered finally for that alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they did buy it, they'll just be replaying Some Like It Hot over and over again. That's just what it is. The entire way.
Yeah, exactly.
That and Mae West films over and over again. Okay.
Oh God, yeah, Mae West.
Well, Don, I can't wait to have you back. We got to do this again, at least maybe later on in the summer. There's always something awesome that we can dive into. In the meantime, I hope that people go and check out your work on Amazon. I hope they check out John Barber's documentaries on Amazon. But what's your Substack, so people can, if that's where you're most frequently writing, let me know.
Yeah, Donald Jeffries at Substack.com. It's I Protest. That's the place I'm not shadow banned. And I am back on X. I was gone for a while. I don't know what happened, but I call it the Mother's Day miracle. Suddenly my dear departed mother must have brought it back or something. Suddenly it came back. I don't know. So I am back on X at Don Jeffries, so people can follow me there. They let me get some followers, but they really hold me down.
Oh,
but
shit. Look at the American loneliness phenomenon. That really ties, and I know that's in 2021, and I think we might have talked about that. But
yeah, that's why I pinned it. I'm most proud of that, so I pinned it at the top of the page. Yeah.
I think we might have to talk about that again. I think that really is going to hit on some of the things I have in the second half if I actually get around to it. But we have to do the 71 teenage girls in the Rockland sewers first. That's what I have to do. But there it is, everybody. DonaldJeffries.substack.com. I'll make sure that is added to the bio of this episode here. And Don, I can't thank you again for the time you gave us tonight.
Always a pleasure, Frank. I'm always here for you.
Great.
Happy to be with you.
Take care. Have a good one.
Hi, Susan Olsen. I said I'd say hi to her. Take care.
Susan, we got to have her on again. Maybe we three get together on the show one time. I haven't spoken to Susan on the show in a while. We text every once in a while.
That would be great. Yeah, I'm sure she'd love that. Okay.
Take care, Don.
Okay. Take care. Thanks, Frank. Yep.
All right, guys and gals. So listen, now, we got stuff that we got to do together. Isn't that great? That's good stuff. You can go anywhere with Don, and anybody, seriously, get them into your home libraries. Good things there. Now, I have a few things I want to do with you guys, and especially get to our super chats. Here's how we're kicking off our super chat raffles for this week. So anybody who sends super chats in, Maybe you don't know. Perhaps this is your first time watching. But Super Chats on YouTube, Rumble, quite frankly, superchat.com, which is the best place to go. If you can't do it, fine. Something's better than nothing. Go wherever the hell you feel comfortable. And also on the gold pills. Here's what the foundation that we're building, the Super Chat raffle giveaway on Thursday night, and you can be in it. You got to be in it to win it. 1 Super Chat gets you in. 2 Super Chats doubles your odds. That's how we work it out. So send in 10. I don't care. But this is what we got going on. This is what we're building up, building the foundation on. Pylean Estates. They sent us by way of our wonderful friend Lisa E out there in the audience. She and her husband sent us wonderful gifts, and they sent us even more stuff that we were able to have at the Spring Fling 2 weeks ago. And everybody was just mopping up the tastiest olive oil. And there's a lot of fake olive oil out there. Lauren was telling me something about that. There's a lot of fake olive oil that we don't even produce enough olives to provide all of the olive oil that's consumed around the world. Anyway, Pylean Estates from Greece. This is coming from like 1,000-year-old olive grove over there. And also, they sent us over so much extra stuff for the Spring Fling that everybody was just taking my sister-in-law's sourdough breads and focaccia and mopping it all up, and it's just so damn good. They also sent us over some sea salt and some sage honey. There's a lot of other extra stuff here too, but this is all going to the grand prize winner. I'll find a runner-up or maybe 2 runner-ups, but this is grand prize winner. We're going to add on top of that as the week goes on. I got silver lined up. I've got Keto Brainz lined up. So support the show. We are a small operation, but we're trying to break through into, where we belong. We're trying to take those steps where we belong. And there you go. Oh, Susan Olson. Cindy Brady just texted me. She says, "Oh, guys, love you. Yes, let's play soon." Absolutely, Susan. Let's do it. That's wonderful. How nice is that? All right. So, I'm not going to go on a break. Actually, yeah, I am going to go on a break.
So, how do you like the food here, Campo? Wait till I finish asking you the question. Just say, I love the food.
I love the food.
Okay, good. Here we go. So, Josh, how do you like the food here, Campo?
I love the food.
Wait till I finish the question. Damn, forget it.
He isn't stopped right away. Somebody's child, maybe yours, will be hurt.
Good morning. My question is, since we're spending all this money, where are we getting the money from? And my second question is, if I can shit in your mouth.
Apologize for that, Congressman. Don't take that kind of language here on the Washington Journal.
Hey, how you doing? How's your mom? Fuck outta here. Hey, how you doing? Fuck outta here. Fuck outta here. Fuck outta here. Fuck outta here. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you got so big. Fuck outta here.
Hey, Rora, why are you a chicken nugget?
I'm not a chicken nugget. I told you already. And you're not going to eat me.
I was walking through the park one day. It's not May anymore. That's a new one, by the way, everybody. I said, you know what? We haven't had a chicken nugget update with Aurora in a long time. Where the hell is that one again? Let me go back to that. Where is it? This one right here. We took this like earlier on today. This morning, actually, before I brought her to her morning classes.
Hey, Rora, why are you a chicken nugget?
I'm not a chicken nugget. I told you already. And you're not going to eat me.
She's so sassy. She seasons herself. Anyway, it's good to have you guys back. If you left, then shame on you. So, if you left, you don't know that we're shaming you. Shame! All right, let's see here. You shut up. Siri's did you hear Siri go, I didn't say your name. Weird freak. All right, Deus Volt 88 says, give me that oil. And great show tonight with Don. Glad I can catch a live. I'm great that you're here. And I'm so happy that Don was on tonight. We're going to have a great week. We have wonderful guests coming in all week. Great topics. Joe Martinez, who is a mystery guy. This guy over here, if Joe, you're out there, I know you're out there because you left this super chat a minute ago. So I'm going to make sure I say this now while you're still out there. This guy, he just drops a little bit of support. He never says, hi, love you, man, love the show, good on you. I get it. You send me a super chat with nothing there. It's a token of goodwill. But he has won 2 raffles and never reached out to me, and I had to recycle the gifts. So he's like a good terrorist. He's just like, I don't know, he leaves a $5 bill on your front step and then like runs away laughing as if he got you. I'm like, wait, Joe, I've got you won a prize. Fuck you, Frank. That's what I feel like with Joe Martinez out there. He just drops a $5 bill and runs away. You're a good man, Joe. You're a good man. If you ever want a prize, get in touch with me. I'll send you a handwritten note, a round of copper. I'll send you a whatever the hell you want. You just let me know. All right, Stove says, great Monday, Frank and Franklies. It's great to have you out there. I hope everybody's having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Nephilim says, cheers, Frank. Put me in for the raffle. I bet the olive oil would make some dope Al Capone's walnut pasta. I guess. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me. Jay Semo says, great guest. Happy Monday. Good. Thank you. Thank you for everything. All right, let's see. Over here, we're going to get to a couple of things. Okay, so this is from the UFC thing. I like I said, I did not watch it live, but here's some of the visuals from around this pop-up stage, and this is the flyover, I think. I was hoping, I mean, that's pretty cool. I was hoping that the whole year was going to be just flyovers and shit like that. And of course, it's just been a little bit too distracting. But that was nice to see that. What's this one? I know just some, I don't know. Here's another one for you. USA chants. I saw this one getting around. There was a still frame that Michael Knowles had shared from the reflecting pool by the obelisk, by the Washington Monument. And behind it, there was looked like a one of those post-storm skies where it's dusk outside. It's starting to get kind of like peachy looking and all that stuff. And you see that there's this rainbow on Pride Month. How nice. This rainbow there. And then there's a whole bunch of lightning. And somebody got a couple of still frames of that. I saw Michael Knowles tweet it out. It was really a stunning picture. But here's the actual moving image. You can see the lightning strike right here. Look at that. A nice veiny lightning strike. There it is. So you had the lightning strike and the rainbow. Who wins? Who wins? Then somebody said that Michelle Obama was a man, right there, and Joe Rogan is just smiling and trying to keep his don't react to it.
And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?
If Joe Rogan could have said "Ninja vanish" and just poof out of there in a cloud of smoke, he would have done it. Oh God. So, but then again, like I said, on the other hand, this is what Democrats were doing. I don't know what the hell was going on here. Obviously, losing U.S. aid hurt very badly. That they couldn't even find a few transvestites to motorboat each other for the cameras. We just had this instead.
No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. Not this time. No one is getting left behind this time. How do we get there? Together or never get there at all.
So, community theater. It is, it's really going downhill. You know, there's some really good community theater out there. Not that. So everybody's hurting. All right, a couple of more things. This will pick up your spirits after that destroyed your heart and soul, dragged you through hell. FIFA fans visiting America for the first time are having spiritual awakenings at. We were laughing about this with Jay over last week at Walmart, IHOP, Taco Bell, Chili's, and here's just a little bit of it I saw.
I'm an American, baby, and apparently Walmart is a spot to go to get all this stuff that you can't get back home in Ireland. So let's head in and see what
Ireland. He's Irish.
you can find. Reese's with Oreos? You're coming home with me, baby. Dr. Pepper is good and nice. Close your eyes. Where you going? Why is their Fanta look so orange? It literally looks like Nigerian Fanta. What the hell? They even have Reese's Pieces Chips Ahoy. Oh, I've heard about Tricks.
Oh, God.
What did they used to say about Tricks?
This is actually awful. This is awful.
Tricks are for kids. Might have to be a kid today.
So I've got a bit of banana, the pancakes, and then the strawberry. Let's try it.
Banana and pancakes and strawberry. I don't know. Oh, maybe just because it's IHOP. There's better places than IHOP. Wait until he tries bananas and rice. It is a Somalian delicacy, and it is just brain expanding. You become so incredibly, Anyway, Czech national team staying in the Texas city of Fort Worth during the group stage accepted the invitation from the city administration to visit the local stockyards district. The Czech team also visited a traditional rodeo. The stockyards district proudly references the local tradition of cowboy life in the Wild West. It was right here in 1918 that the world's first indoor rodeo took place. Thank you for the invitation. There they are. I've never, you know what? I can't wait to get down there one day. I keep talking about I have to get to Europe. And I gotta go to Texas. I mean, I'd like to go everywhere. I want to go to Europe. I want to see all that stuff. It's where my family comes from. But damn, I do just got to go to Texas, and that's connected by land. So I don't even have to get into a plane, though it's a little bit of a long drive. But who cares? Got to see everything along the way. Here's a British guy that's here for the World Cup, discovers the most magical pillows of biscuit smothered in peppery sausage gravy. Welcome to America, brother.
Let's get a big chunk of this.
Where's he at? Oh, he's in a... That's a Cracker Barrel. That's a Cracker Barrel back there. That's all. That's a Cracker Barrel. I can actually smell the fireplace.
Is it bomb? Oh. This is so good. This is why everyone kept telling me to have it. Dang.
Was he having the chicken fried chicken? The chicken fried steak? The steak fried steak? You should wash it down with some sourdough French toast. And then he could also go into the Cracker Barrel store and get 98% of his Christmas shopping done in June. 98% of your Christmas shopping is done in June. Get it done. For like $125. You get everybody you get your little if you have a little cousin, girl or boy, get them a Light Bright. That comes in the original packaging. It's just retro packaging. It's not the actual thing there. But get them a Light Bright, something like that. Oh, here's something for you. After cheering their team on to a draw, so they didn't even win, and I'm sure that the result would have been the same if they lost. Japan fans, the Japanese fans over there, show us why their civilization will thrive far beyond ours implodes. They're in Dallas Stadium, and they all brought a plastic bag, and they make sure, just like when they're home, they clean up after they're done. Yeah, so I saw a lot of those pictures of everybody just cleaning up after themselves and whatever, and yeah, I saw the Dutch and the Japanese kind of like in a kick line having a good time. The only one Japanese guy and a whole bunch of Dutch people. Thankfully, they were Dutch and they weren't New York Knicks fans because they would have beaten up the Japanese guy and torn his shirt off. So there was that. Oh, anyway. Let me see here. Over on Pilled, we got a couple of super chats who just came in, and then we're getting to the sewer story. Icebox Icebox was one of our winners last week. I hope all the stuff got to him already. Safety Net says, a wee bit of gold for the best show on earth. Love you, Lynn. Not Your Mom says, been listening but insanely busy. Thank you for always making me laugh. Thank you for being there. I can feel the energy coming back. Nathan W says, Don is an absolute gem of a guest. Great discussion. Yes, he is. Yeah, he is. Revolution says, you did a great interview, Frank. Kudos. Super excited to see the birds aren't real tea on air again. They are not real. They are drones. And thank you for the shirt. It's been a while. I have to throw these in every once in a while. It's too, you remember that kind of shirt like this too much, too easily. I have a little bit, can't wear it too often. Corey J says, a chance at a prize. Safety Net, I want the oil. It's Lynn again. Now she has 2 chances. So you guys just keep dousing us in love here. Doodah Man says, I was never into the UFC. I have a newfound appreciation for it after watching it last night. Sort of like my feelings for metal music and my new appreciation from listening to this show. I'm a deadhead. Peace. We can talk about heavy metal all you'd like. All you'd like, my friend. I love talking heavy metal. Nathan W says, when you're ready to go to Texas, hit me up. I got you. Honestly, whenever I put that on the books, that's one of those things where I'm going to make stops along the way. There are too many friends that we have in Missouri. I definitely want to stop there. And then even someone like Tony Arterburn, I think he bounces between Missouri and Texas all the time. But there's too many of you in Texas. I can't avoid you all. I want to bring everybody together somehow. Molly Artie says, I'm not a UFC fan, but the Michelle Obama is a man comment made me it made me and Sentinel completely, it made it worth it for us, me and Sentinel watching it. Yeah, that's why I said, you're like, oh, this is classless. I was like, listen, stop. That we left that behind a long time ago. Like all the people before they tried to figure out how to make the Stormy Daniels thing into an election interference, they started saying, well, hush money. It was hush money. Like it's an NDA, but hush money. Oh, that's election interference. It's hush money. Like, first of all, you voted for a Clinton. Okay. You're talking about a record of defending rapists, being rapists, all that other shit. Nobody gives a shit. Okay. If you think that at first the whole Stormy Daniels thing was about trying to embarrass Donald Trump for having an extramarital affair, it's like, listen, people understand what's at stake here and how late in the game it is. And I think a lot of very moral people and religious people are holding their nose and turning a blind eye and letting people just, deal with their issues with God, and we're just going to cast a vote here. Not going to be moralizing with a Clinton supporter. Not going to do that. So a long time ago. So this is an extension of that bullshit where people who have absolutely no moral code and they have nothing universal that they can tether it to because they don't believe in God for the most part, and they pluralize everything. You don't try to hold me to some kind of a standard that you yourself do not have. That's what I say, and I will just continue to laugh because laughing is fun. All right. Dozens of teenage girls rescued from a New York sewer. You heard it. A New York sewer. It's not too far from here. It's Rockland. Okay? Now, this makes 0 sense. Around 70 teenage girls were located safely after venturing into the sewer system during a school trip in Nyack. That's right over the Tappan Zee Bridge over there, New York, on Wednesday, authorities said. The students of Taurus Imaku School in Muncie, it's a Jewish school, I don't know how to say it, were on a school trip to Memorial Park in Nyack, about 50 miles north of New York City, when they entered the drainage culvert near the town's central business district. Isn't that a nice little place for 71 teenage girls to just go walking into? A police officer from nearby Orangetown spotted several girls exiting a sewer grate in an alley just off the main drag and alerted local authorities. According to News 12 Westchester, all of the girls were able to safely exit the culvert on their own and no serious injuries were reported. One student was treated at the scene and another complained of abdominal pain, was brought to Montefiore Nyack Hospital, the outlet writes. Now, this makes zero sense whatsoever. The New York Post gave us absolutely dog shit levels of details. Dog shit levels of details. There was a News 12 report that I'll show you right now.
When I spoke with the Nyack mayor, he says he could not believe the phone call he received early this afternoon. Now, we're at Memorial Park, and earlier there were about 70 teenage girls who were on a field trip from Muncie, and they explored this creek here, which is the Nyack Creek, and then they wandered through that culvert that you see there. According to Mayor Joe Rand.
Yeah, just they wandered. That's just it. That's it. 71 girls wandered. First of all, to get 71 teenage girls to unanimously agree on anything is insane, let alone climb into a sewer pipe.
The group of girls wandered through the underground tunnel that runs under the village. They were walking upstream. He says at some point they got disoriented and were unable to find their way back. Mayor Rand says some of them explored for nearly half a mile. The girls were all located at various points around Nyack, most of them at Main and Franklin. Now, he says this technically wasn't a rescue.
The police responded very quickly, and we were lucky that there was actually an Orangetown police officer who was doing a foot patrol right in the area, so he was able to respond very quickly. They all got out of their own power, and no one was seriously hurt, and that's what we're really grateful for.
All of the girls were accounted for. Police say that only 2 of them sustained injuries. One of them was treated at the scene, while another was taken to a local hospital for stomach pain. We're in Nyack, Rockland County. Jackie Gillis, News 12.
I wonder what they made her swallow. A half a mile into the sewers, and they got disoriented. They were on a field trip to Nyack Memorial Park when a group of roughly 70 8th and 9th grade girls with chaperones entered a large drainage culvert along Nyack Creek. They walked nearly a half mile underground on rocky, uneven terrain and became disoriented. They eventually exited on their own through various points, including a sewer grate. I'm telling you, it's just like the sewer grate that opened up and you had the Jewish guys coming out with the full brimmed hats and all that stuff. What was that, February of 2 years ago? Like nuts. What the hell is this about? Including a sewer grate in the alley off Main Street and a drain to the patio of Hudson House Restaurant. Can you imagine I wonder if somebody was eating at the Hudson House Restaurant and all these Jewish girls start crawling out of a sewer drain. Oh, yeah. Surprising diners and locals. Orangetown Police, Nyack Fire Department, Hatzalah EMS. Is that a all-Jewish EMS? And Shavarim Volunteers. That sounds Jewish, too. Responded quickly and accounted for everyone. No serious injuries, just minor cuts, scrapes, dehydration for some. All girls returned home. You can dehydrate somebody in what, a half a mile walk? Dehydration. Officials called it a fortunate end to a potentially dangerous situation and reminded the group to stick to marked trails. Oh, yeah, I know. Guys, please, listen. The trails are marked. Stay on the trail and don't go into the sewers. I know it's very hard. This could be very hard. That is insane, man. What is with the tunnels all the time? And I want to hear, of course, there's no interviews. Now they're going to be minors. They're going to say, no, we're no interviews. You already know, Tyler Oliveira or, goes into, their towns or whatever. And everybody sticks themselves, and nobody talks, whether they're Jewish, Muslim, whatever the hell it is. Nobody talks, but they especially zip up. I want to know, I want to hear these girls interviewed independently, separate of each other. There is nothing believable about this story. And I know somebody out there has to be thinking, we got to go investigate this. We got to walk through these. We got to walk through. Somebody's got to go out there and find out what the hell is in there. And everybody's coming out in different places. So that doesn't even mean that they're all stuck together. They just went. It's almost like they went to the mall. They went in different places. Somebody came out one end. Somebody came out underneath a restaurant. It sucks that this is going to go away. I hope it doesn't. Somebody's got to get in there. You'd have to imagine. Who the hell can just leave this story the way it is? Anyway, that's it. Mulberry just sent the super chat, said that olive oil makes me wish that I was Italian. Well, this is Greek. So, I mean, I'm Italian and I think this is great. I mean, they're Mediterranean neighbors of ours, but still, I mean, it is so good. It is so good. You can tell, you can taste the olives. All right, so give me a call. The lines are open. I want to hear what you guys think about this. And I have another topic I can bring up, but I just don't think that it is. I don't think it's a good time. I think maybe the second half of tomorrow's show, I'd be able to introduce this topic. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to squeeze it in because it really is going to require you guys calling in. So yeah, let's do that some other time. 914-200-0269. Give me a buzz. I want to hear what the hell you guys think about what we discussed tonight. Don Jeffries' appearance, any of these stories that we were just doing, Iran. I don't know what the Promethean, listen, like I always said, there's my default setting, which is I don't want anything to do with that part of the world. I think that we can do everything that we need to ensure our best interests here at home by cutting off the rest of the world in anything but friendly trade. So that's my default setting. I don't like it. I see time coming off the clock and I just, whatever. But I always keep an open mind. I have not seen what the ladies from Promethean Action have said so far, but we'll catch up with that in a second or so, perhaps. Let's take a call from Connecticut. What's going on, Willie?
Hey, that guy said Obama's a man, whatever. He took the light, the shine and the light away from the other one. I think the guy was from Brazil or something, but he quoted, John 16 from the Bible, and then he asked his fiancée to get and told everybody to love Jesus, and then he also said in Spanish, he wanted to get married to his girlfriend, and he proposed to her right there on stage.
Oh, that's nice.
That really got knocked away with the later on with the other guy that said Obama the man thing. Another one of them too praised Jesus, where everyone's saying it was all nasty, it was all this, it was all that. There was a lot of God there, except for that the heavyweight guy was towards the end there.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Willie, where I didn't make time to watch it. I was just getting some stuff ready for the new week and all that stuff, and I wasn't watching it. But I knew what was going to be waiting for me when I got onto the internet today. Everybody, trying to throw shade at each other and talk who has class and who doesn't and all whatever. But of course this was one of the big headlines because it's one of those things that you would imagine would leave some people laughing and other people who are a little bit more public relations minded, a little bit more cringy. But that's good. That's good to know that there was a lot more to the evening that people just genuinely enjoyed, and I have a lot of friends who really loved it. So yeah, well put.
Yeah, it was awesome. But like you say, the one thing that goes viral or whatever. But there was I don't know. I'm not into that. I don't like to see people getting their heads beat in when they're on the ground. That to me, boxing was one thing. But then that turned into like ballet or whatever, and then they came up with this, whatever the hell you call it, kickboxing, MMA stuff. But when they're beating them when they're on the ground, it's terrible to me. I don't like to ever see somebody get beat when they're on the ground.
Yeah. Hey, Willie,
but,
you ever?
But the guy, proclaiming the gospel there. That was pretty amazing. I thought, where all the Democrats are saying it's evil, it's this, it's that, and it was more than one of them too,
Yeah,
but the other freak show guy, he's known for that stuff. The one that said the Obama stuff, which I agree with what he said.
Hey, Willie, did you ever play Willie? Did you ever play sports when you were coming up?
We played, all yard sports. I played, we had Little League or whatever. I was catcher and outfield or something and second base.
Okay. Well, thank you for the call, man.
But yeah, were them girls them Hasidic kind with the curly hairs?
I don't know, but
was it one of those that get everything for free towns?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that. It seems like there's a lot of subsidizing that goes on in those circles. It just seems like that is just par for the course. But I don't know how to identify.
They look like they all had little dresses on or something, like they're whatever they call that.
They have the long,
Orthodox or something.
I don't know. I don't know what sect it is, especially with women. I don't know what they have to wear. But it seemed like they all had the low shin level dresses on with something like almost like a sweater vest. So I don't. If you know how to identify the sect by that get up.
I was just wondering if it was one of them, them whatever, the freaks that live off the government, and don't work or anything else. That guy, I don't know if you had a clip on it or something, or interviewed a guy that went to one of the places and he was exposing them,
Yeah, Tyler Oliveira. I just I mentioned him before.
I thought you mentioned it. Yeah.
Anyway, that's how it went down.
Afternoon.
Thank you. Have a good one. Be well. There's Willie. Everybody. The lines are still open. Give us a buzz. Let me know what you think. Where is everything? Where is it all going? Okay. Where is it all going? And yeah, I did the World Cup goodness. Was there anything else? Oh, the Scots in Boston. Why didn't I put this one up here? I saw this last night as I was watching Sunday Night Baseball. It's a bunch of Scottish people over there in Fenway Park.
It's not the Phoenix Open.
What a night. Just a brilliant group of people. Still singing from the break. The song's been over for minutes.
They know how to have fun.
They're doing it right. They are living right.
Man, that filled up the space, man. That really filled up the space. And you can tell they're European. That's not an American energy. I don't hear any American crowds that sound like that. We don't sing songs like that. First of all, every damn stadium in the country sings that stupid fucking Seven Nation Army song for everything. It used to be that every sports team and every stadium had their own little chant. They had their own little gimmick. And when you went into town, like when the Yankees would play the Braves, or anybody played the Braves, the Atlanta Chop. Oh, if they still do it, I don't know. I feel like I haven't heard it in forever. Everybody had their own little thing. Now everybody is don't. Everybody does it. I'm like, oh, this song, oh, good. And then you the home team gets to do it, and then the away team the next week when they're visiting is they get to do it to the other person. It's like it's everybody. So I hate that song. Everybody sings it. Can't do that. It's not a communal fight song. I see this video. This picture is going around a lot lately. Of just a reminder of what was standard just a couple of years ago, and how it doesn't matter how many Evel Knievel motorcyclists you have over at the White House right now running themselves off of ramps. It's better than what it was. Yeah, I get you. I'm with you. 845, you're on the air. Go ahead.
So Disclosure Now, that was a great little thing you did the other night. My buddy's down in Vero Beach, and he took his family to go and see Disclosure Now. He's got like 9 kids.
Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day, which could be Disclosure Now. I'm joking. That was something, because we had an entire culture that really enjoyed going to the freaking movies. And now we're all just stuck in our house looking at shit. That guy you had on tonight, I think about people living in condos all over the fucking world that we all journey through this thing. Like, Disclosure today should be like there needs to be some sort of like orgasm in the culture and get everybody back to work. We all got to go back to work. That's my thing, Frank. We got to go back to work.
Hey, I'm with you. Everybody goes back to work. A lot of things. I think there are people out there who are overworked, though. And I think if everybody went back to work, perhaps some people wouldn't have to work as hard. And because there's a lot of people who are just, I don't know, living in in some kind of like a suspended animation state where everything is just, they're just pumped full of trash and subsidized. I get you. And you know what? To that point, thank you for the call, because we're about to wrap up. I'm gonna cut out maybe a minute or two early and bring you over to the flip side for a little bit. But like I said in the Disclosure Day review that we did live, it's one of those things where, I know everybody, all the big movie review channels and all that stuff, they're going to have something that comes, they're going to write a script, they do it well, and they're going to send it off to their video editors. They're going to cut in some really great B-roll. They're going to put out a wonderful film, a wonderful review, and it's going to be out soon. It's what they do. Me, I do things live. So I wrote down some notes. I wrote down a little plot summary that I made, and we did it in less than an hour, about 50 minutes, but I wanted to be thorough with it because honestly, I don't really think it's going to be one of those things where we discuss the movie time and time again. There's a couple of upcoming guests that I'm curious to see what they picked up on and all that stuff, but like I said, and I didn't do the review to dissuade people from going out and having a nice night in the movie theater either, because like I said, if you're in good company, go out and see a movie. You're not keeping anything of, it's just, what the hell? I don't care. I'm not going to judge you. If you go out with your friends, have a good time. But it wasn't anything crazy. And like I said on Saturday night, I think the thing that was most unbelievable aspect of that film, Disclosure Day, is the idea that the television broadcast of, okay, these rogue government whistleblower types, cybersecurity types who have all of this information, have all of this footage from Roswell and all these other alien encounters and alien autopsies and alien, torture sessions and all this other shit, who actually have gotten broken. I mean, here's the big thing here too. At the end, I was saying it, at the end, they wheel out this. Okay, this is the spoiler alert. No, never mind. I'm not going to spoil it. You can watch the full thing. But I have to amend something, though, so I have to spoil it. Pause. I was talking about the actual ET. There was so little that happened for me in 2 hours as I'm sitting there eating my popcorn with churro bits in them, which I'm not going to have it ever again because it was too sweet. I barely had any. I had a couple of handfuls. Anybody want any? Of course, Jay wasn't going to have popcorn with churros in it. He just had himself a tonic water because it was like going to a movie with a priest. And and they roll out this geriatric alien who whispers into the protagonist, the two protagonists' ears. One of them knows how to translate the mathematical kind of like language and gives it to the girl, Emily Blunt, who goes out there. I already told you how it all ends. But I mean, like, there's an alien there that has been, they helped this thing escape from a government facility, as well as all of the information, the terabytes of information and all the footage and these suppository like relics or whatever. I told you all about it too. I mean, could you just show us how you helped the alien escape? That would have been awesome. That would have been nice. That would have been good. It's like, well, who the fuck was writing this? But aside from that, like I was saying, the whole Disclosure Day broadcast at the end of the film, when they finally got to show the world, as you know, you've seen in the previews, you know it's going to get to that. You just wonder how, you know, what do all the characters have to overcome, all the hurdles to actually make that disclosure possible. And I won't tell you about that stuff here. If you don't care about spoilers, you can go over there. I haven't told you really anything here. The most unbelievable aspect of the movie was that this idea that a television broadcast like this could be launched today, and then everybody would be just sucked in. That the traffic in Times Square in New York City would be at a standstill, and everybody their heads would be in their phones watching the same broadcast and thinking deeply enough about it to have their reality, their perception of reality called into question. You know? That's hilarious to me, especially since I was just in New York City yesterday, driving through Times Square, to get to 45th Street for the Lion King, and it was absolutely insane. I mean, it's always insane on a summer Sunday or something like that through that part of town. But it was the day after the Knicks won. It was the Puerto Rican Day parade. So you have a bunch of, overweight chicks wearing nothing, walking around, trying to keep it all tucked in because everybody is at least 300 pounds and they're all just wrapping themselves up in flags and garbage bags because nothing fits anymore. It's and so that's all going on. And I'm thinking to myself, let's on the Megatron over here in Times Square. CNN is showing everybody footage from Roswell. Nobody's fucking looking up. Nobody's looking up. So it came 30 years too late, and it's so disconnected from the actual culture right now. If aliens are, I said this on the stream, if aliens are not showing up to give me $2 gas and eliminate my income taxes, I truly don't care. And I love the topic. But right now, I'm a little bit too distracted. Okay? A little bit too distracted. So it's just 30 years too late. And it doesn't really give, in my opinion, it fails to deliver anything that's really unique, especially for a Steven Spielberg standard, who already is waist deep in timeless ET-related films that actually strike some fascinating chords with audiences at the right time in our, now nobody cares. At least the audience there, and everybody thinks, it was boomer slop. I'll tell you, the 9:30 showing that we went to seemed to be, older millennial, Gen X, and boomer. I didn't see any boomers leaving any excited puddles on their seats. I don't know. I think the same people who are going to sit there and say that all the Disney Star Wars films were great are going to say that this is great. It's just the same type of people who just love being fed shit. And I think that's cross-generational there. So just throwing it out. Oh, I got to take this call before we leave. It's Barbara Yates. Barbara, how are you?
Hi, my friend.
Oh, it's good to hear from you. What's up? What's on your mind?
Oh, just to give you a ray of hope here. I'm seeing a lot of quiet rebellion For example, in New Hampshire, they tried to build a 70-acre, and they say data center, and there's a big difference between a data center and a surveillance center. And within 3 days, they had 10,000 signatures jump up to 23,000 signatures. And that put a stop to it temporarily until they try to come in and figure out another way to attack it. I'm also seeing people that have been career-driven now negating the pursuit of a higher salary for experiences, for family, for friends, pretty much what you did with the Jubilee. So nobody trusts anything anymore, but they trust family, friends, and community. And I think what you're providing is a touchstone for us to be able to take information from qualified people and arrive at our own decision. So kudos to you, my friend.
Well, Barbara, you always know what to say to make me feel good and to help keep it. It's people like you really are placed in other people's lives. Aside from all the wonderful accomplishments you have, and I have a stack of your books over here I'm going to start giving out to people as prizes. But aside from your own accomplishments, you really people like you always show up at the right time to say, hey, you almost like you get wind in the sails, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and just for your audience, there's a sandbox. You can be in the negative sandbox or you can be in the positive sandbox. If you're in the negative sandbox and you absorb all this negativity, guess what you're doing? You're proselytizing that and you're spreading it and creating more of it. When you're in the positive sandbox, you're grateful for the things that you have and you see more of it and you find more people that share your same value. So have faith, people. That would be my guidance to your audience.
It's always wonderful guidance from you, Barbara. And please call in more often. I feel like I haven't heard you in, I don't know, it's been a while.
Well, it's been so hot, and I finally saw you live instead of the day after. So I'm with you in spirit.
Always. I'll talk to you after. Thank you for closing out the show with me.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Frank. Bye.
Take care. There's Barbara Yates. And ladies, you especially, her work especially, would be good for you guys to read. She sent me a nice little stack of books. She said, please give these out and, put them in prizes and give them out to people. And I want to make sure that I do it right. So yeah, wonderful way to end. Okay. Well, hey, listen, I'm going to bring you guys over to the flip side with me now. It is 8:57. We're ending this show. Please make sure that you leave timestamps. What did you love about tonight's show? Leave a timestamp. I'll send the timestamp over to Josh, my editor, and he will just snip it right out. We'll make shorts together. We'll make larger bits together. It doesn't matter what it is. If something made you laugh, something made you cry, so for any reason, it could have been traumatizing, could have been painfully boring. But anything, leave timestamps, clip it yourself. If you guys know what the hell you're doing, please clip. If you're on Twitch, clip, baby, clip. It all works. Leave some comments, leave a like, and let me tell you something before I leave. Do me this favor. Give me 1 second, okay? Until the end of Independence Day weekend, that means for about 2.5 weeks now, I have made every tier to support this show on Patreon 90% off. You know why? It wasn't 100% off the first month. It's just 90% off the first month because they wouldn't allow me anything less than 90. I wanted for Independence Day to give everybody the free first month as any tier, because what I really would love to do is get you guys, especially if you were thinking about becoming a sponsor, I want station ID sponsors. We have about 20 of those open between Subscribestar and Patreon. Patreon.com/Quite Frankly. The links are in the description. The links are on the sponsor page on quitefrankly.tv. The station ID sponsor is you. The main perk, aside from all the other universal perks, including the the movie night we're going to have this Friday night when we watch A Bronx Tale. The main perk is you filming a station ID. Hey, this is so-and-so. You're watching Quite Frankly, and whatever the hell. Personality shines wherever you want to do it, however you want to make people laugh, whatever you want to do. I'm going to give you a very short guideline to make, and those can update seasonally. So you can give me a spring bumper, a summer bumper. You're going to, hey, I'm going on vacation. Linda Love did, I remember when Linda Love sent in that skydiving, but she was skydiving. She was in the air, skydiving, falling to her death, and said, you're watching Quite Frankly. You know, do whatever the hell you want. We used to do that a lot back then, and I want all current sponsors to send me fresh ones. And I want people to come on and help me fill up those that particular tier. There's great stuff there, but I realized, wow, the station ID is like there's nobody in here, and this could be so awesome. And I got to go on more breaks because that used to be a lot of fun. We have to have fun again. So just putting it out there. The first month is 90% off, and that stands until the end of Independence Day weekend. All right. Just keep clipping and get in touch with me. All right, come to the flip side. That's where we will be. Let me make sure that I got everybody in. The Pro Say Savage. Pro Say Savage says a red box of popcorn. Very nice. I like that. A sticker. Thank you for a super sticker. And Jeannie Yankee Fan, representing Twitch, says love the prize for sure. Well, I hope you all win the olive oil. I hope you all win. Thank you, guys, one and all. All right, Tommy Jekyll Icebox just said, great show, Frank. Great audience, you sexy Franklies. They are the curviest, jiggly-assed audience out there, and they smell like roses. I love you guys. I can hear your asses jiggling from here. It's fantastic. And the roses, like walking through a garden over here. Fantastic. That, and I smell, I also smell basil and tomato plants. Could be worse. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, on to the flip side we go. Take a look at the chat room for those links.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes. Quite frankly. Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatters, starting with the Pro Say Savage, Jeannie Yankee Fan, Jay Brits, Deus Volt 88, Joe Martinez, The Kind Terrorist, and Stowstube. Thank you to all of our friends over there. Doll76 says ML, but birds are real. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. They are not real. Doll, thank you again. Did you see MK2 out of 10? Let's see. Waken Boomer just got in there too. Thank you, Boomer. Thank you, Grady, Jay Semo, and Nephilim. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Let's go.
Everybody else shit. Fuck. Everybody else shit. Fuck. Everybody else shit. Fuck. Everybody else shit. Fuck.
Will you shut up?